I like to tell people that I was a fan of David Dhawan movies long before it was cool to be a fan of David Dhawan movies. I truly enjoyed the inspired lunacy, the nonsensical narrative, the determinedly cheesy sensibility, and of course Govinda, who was a riot of colors and expressions. So my ardent hope was that in Tera Hero, David, working for the first time with his talented son Varun, would recreate some of that madness and magic.
बचपन से 15 स्कूल से निकाला गया हूं मैं। 10 पुलिस ऑफिसर्स ने मेरे वजह से अपना ट्रांसफर भी कर दिया। जब मैंने शहर छोड़ा था ना, पूरा शहर मुझको छोड़ने आया था।
There are a few moments in the film that took me back to the good old days. There's a running gag about a dreaded gangster played by Anupam Kher talking in echoes because he grew up in the mountains. There's also a superbly funny moment when the gangster's sexy fiancé thinks that 2 men in her house are gay. But mostly, Tera Hero is loud and tiring. The film is undemanding but also deflating. You laugh sporadically, but you leave the theatre exhausted instead of energized. Tera Hero is dumbed down by design. I have no issues with that. My problem is that the frenzied plot didn't deliver enough funny lines. The burden of making this enterprise work rests mostly with Varun, who is as hyper as a helium-filled Energizer bunny. He romances, dances, punches and does comedy like his life depended on it. Meanwhile, the 2 svelte heroines, Ileana de Cruz and Nargis Fakhri, simper around looking sexy. David believes in equal opportunity objectification, so the camera caresses the girls as much as it does Varun's 6-pack abs. They're all lovely to look at. I just wish it had been more interesting. At the end of the film, the gangster's sidekick exclaims, "जैसे घर की छत को roof कहते हैं, जैसे सबूत को English में proof कहते हैं, वैसे हर language में आप जैसों को बेवकूफ कहते हैं." Bewakoof aptly describes us viewers. I'm going with 2 stars.
Captain, are you ready?
Honestly, I've never had too much interest in Captain America. In comparison with the angst-ridden Batman, the cocky Iron Man, or the prickly Spider-Man, Cap felt too earnest, too guileless, and simply too bland. But Captain America, the Winter Soldier, changes that. Cap, or Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, is still the blonde, blue-eyed, all-American hero, but in this film, he has depth, emotional heft, and some superbly gritty action sequences in which those bulging muscles are put to good use. The first sign that this isn't your regular superhero movie is that Robert Redford is in it. The iconic actor brings a nice sophistication to the narrative, which deftly combines backstory, delicious twists and turns, and some crackling banter between Steve and fellow superhero Black Widow, played by the delectable Scarlett Johansson.
What about the nurse that lives across the hall from you? She seems kind of nice.
Secure the engine room, then find me a date.
I'm multitasking.
Incredibly, in between all this, directors Anthony and Joe Russo and writers Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely also managed to address topical security and privacy invasion concerns. There's a lot going on here. And in places, the film feels both overbusy and yet predictable. But just when you start to get restless, the Russos ramp up the adrenaline again. Captain America, the Winter Soldier, has verve and nerve. It's popcorn entertainment in the best sense of the word, especially if you see the film in IMAX 3D like I did. I'm going with 4 stars.